My name is Maya. I'm 34, and last Thanksgiving, I discovered exactly how much my family thought I was worth. My mother pointed her wine glass at me and said in front of everyone, "So, how's that little computer thing? Still playing instead of getting a real career?" The table laughed. My brother laughed the hardest. I slipped away to check my laptop. One tab showed $18 million. The result of years building software they never asked about. I thought I closed it. I didn't. My brother walked in, saw my screen, and shouted for everyone. Within seconds, they went from mocking my fake job to demanding what they suddenly decided they were owed. If you've ever had your success laughed at 1 minute and treated like an ATM the next, stay with me. I didn't wake up one day with 18 million on a screen. It started when I was a kid in a cramped apartment in Queens, learning quietly that my place in the family was to be the one who didn't need much. My mom, Rachel, liked to say I was born independent. She meant it as a compliment. It was really an excuse. My dad left when I was 9, just vanished one weekend. And after that, our world shrank overnight. Bills piled up. My mom worked double shifts at a hospital, and my older brother Marcus became the center of her universe. He was 3 years older, loud, dramatic, sensitive. Whenever he struggled in school, my mom wrapped him in concern. "He's been through so much," she'd whisper, smoothing his hair. "We need to be gentle with him." When I got good grades, she barely looked up. "Of course you did. You're strong, Maya. You always figure it out." That was the pattern. If Marcus forgot his chores, she said he was distracted. If I forgot, "Maya, I can't count on you for one simple thing." I started cooking for us using recipes I found online, packing my own lunches, doing laundry, because someone had to. Marcus stayed in his room screaming at video games and watching basketball, already obsessed with stats in a way that later turned into something darker. I stopped asking for help because the answer was always the same. "We don't have time. We don't have money. You'll be fine." By the time I hit high school, I had figured out that if I wanted a different life, no one in that apartment was going to build it for me. I joined the computer club because it meant staying late at school instead of going home to chaos. I found free coding tutorials online and spent nights hunched over our old laptop, teaching myself HTML, CSS, JavaScript, while Marcus used the TV to yell at whatever game he was watching. In the library, I stumbled into the personal finance section, pulled out a book about investing, and felt something click. The idea that money could be moved, grown, managed instead of just feared, it was like oxygen. I got a part-time job at a local cafe, told my mom it was just for fun money, while she handed Marcus cash for emergencies that somehow always lined up with big games. I saved every tip in a separate account, and one afternoon, heart pounding, I downloaded an investing app and bought my first tiny slice of a tech company. Cost less than a pair of sneakers. No one cared enough to ask what I was doing. When my school had an awards night and I got recognized for academic achievement, my mom promised she'd try to make it. But that same night, there was a playoff game Marcus was desperate to see. She chose him. I remember standing on that stage, accepting a certificate while other parents cheered and took photos, staring at the empty seat where she was supposed to be. That was the night I stopped hoping they'd notice and started quietly building a life where I wouldn't need them to. Getting into college wasn't some movie moment. It was a spreadsheet, a calendar, 100 tiny decisions no one else saw. I filled out my own financial aid forms at the kitchen table, while my mom argued with bill collectors on the phone, and Marcus shouted at bad calls on TV. I wrote application essays on that old laptop, rewrote them until my eyes burned, because I knew this was my ticket out. When I got accepted to NYU with a partial scholarship, my mom said she was proud, but it came out distracted, automatic. "That's great, honey. Just don't move too far. We still need you around." Marcus rolled his eyes, muttered something about nerd school. I moved into a tiny dorm in Manhattan with a girl from Ohio who thought the subway was terrifying. I thought it was freedom. My major was computer science, but my real education happened after class. I signed up for every free tech workshop, every startup meetup that offered pizza, any event connected to software or startups. I kept freelancing too, building websites, fixing bugs, creating dashboards for small businesses. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid for groceries and textbooks. And it taught me something important. People would pay real money if you could make their problems disappear. Back home, nothing changed. My mom complained about bills. Marcus bounced in and out of community college, then dropped out completely. He'd started betting on sports through his phone. "Just $20 here and there," he said. Then one day, my mom called me crying. His little bets had quietly turned into thousands of dollars in debt on her credit card. I could hear him in the background yelling that he'd figure it out, that the next game would hit big. I picked up extra freelance work, staying up until 3 in the morning after studying, so I could send my mom a few $100s here and there. I told her it was leftover scholarship money because I didn't want to admit I was working myself into the ground to keep her afloat while she bailed Marcus out with a bucket full of holes. After graduation, I got hired at a tech startup in Brooklyn. The pay was decent, better than my mom ever made. I kept freelancing on the side, building my own projects, learning everything I could about product development and user experience. 2 years in, I noticed something. The tools we were building at work, they were solving problems I'd seen everywhere in my freelance life. Small businesses that needed simple software but couldn't afford enterprise solutions. So I started building my own, Nights and Weekends, a project management tool designed for solo entrepreneurs and tiny teams. Clean, simple, affordable. I launched it quietly, didn't tell anyone, just put it out there and watched. The first month, 5 paying users. The second month, 30. By month 6, I had 2,000 subscribers paying $15 a month. I quit my job and went all in. My mom thought I was insane. "You had a stable job," she said. "Why would you give that up to play around with whatever this is?" I tried to explain. She didn't want to hear it. The calls kept coming, though. "Maya, the rent is due." "Maya, Marcus needs help with his car payment." "Maya, can you just send a little something?" I sent money every time. Told myself it was temporary, that once Marcus got stable, once my mom caught up on bills, I could stop. But there was always another emergency, another crisis, another reason why this month was different. Meanwhile, my little project kept growing. 5,000 users, 10,000, 20,000. I hired a small team, raised a seed round from investors, started seeing my software mentioned in tech blogs. And through all of it, I never told my family the real numbers. When my mom asked how work was going, I said, "Good, busy." When Marcus asked if I was rich yet, I laughed it off. "I'm doing okay." The truth? By year 3, I had paying users in 40 countries. Revenue was steady, profitable. And when a major tech company approached me about acquisition, I said yes. The number was $18 million, after taxes, after paying my team, after everything. 18 million that I'd built from nothing while they mocked my computer thing. I didn't tell them. I moved into a nicer apartment, started investing the money carefully, set up a financial advisor, made sure I was smart about it. But I kept sending my mom her monthly checks, kept bailing Marcus out of his gambling debts, kept playing the role of the independent daughter who was always fine. Then came Thanksgiving. I offered to host, ordered everything through delivery apps, made it perfect. My mom showed up with Marcus and a few relatives I barely knew. Dinner started normal. My mom complained about her job. Marcus bragged about some sports betting system he'd figured out. I nodded along, smiled, played my part. Then my mom made her joke, the one about my little computer thing. Everyone laughed. I excused myself to check my laptop in the other room. I had a dashboard open, tracking my investments, showing the portfolio balance. $18,400,712. I meant to close it, but my phone rang. My mom calling from the dining room, asking where the wine opener was. I got distracted, walked back without shutting the laptop. Marcus wandered in a few minutes later, said he was looking for the bathroom. He saw the screen. I heard him shout, "Mom! Mom! You need to see this!" I ran back. He was standing there, pointing at my laptop like he'd found buried treasure. 18 million, he said, voice cracking. She has $18 million. The room went silent. Then everyone started talking at once. My mom pushed past me to look at the screen. Her face went from confused to shocked to something cold. "Is this real?" she whispered. "Yes," I said quietly. Marcus exploded. "You've had this the whole time? While we've been struggling? While Mom's been working double shifts? While you've been gambling," I said. "Yes." My mom's face hardened. "How long have you had this?" 3 years. 3 years. She said it like an accusation. "And you never thought to mention it? To help your family properly?" "I've been sending you money every month for years," I said. "Pocket change," Marcus spat. "You've been sitting on millions while giving us scraps." The relatives watched, eyes wide. This was better than any reality show. My mom sat down slowly. "Maya," she said, voice shaking. "I raised you. I worked myself to the bone for you. And this is how you repay me? By hiding? By being selfish with what's yours?" "It's not about being selfish." "Yes, it is!" Marcus was pacing now. "You let us struggle. You watched Mom work herself sick. You let me go through hell when you could have helped." "I did help," I said, "for years." "Not enough." His voice bounced off the walls. "Look at that number. Look at it. You're rich, actually rich, and you acted like you were broke." "I never said I was broke." "You let us think it." My mom stood up, voice rising. "Every time I called asking for help, you made it sound like you were scraping by too, like you were just barely making it. You lied to us." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "That's lying." Marcus kicked a chair. "You know what? You owe us. Half of that should be Mom's. She raised you. She sacrificed everything. I almost laughed. You think I owe you $9 million because Mom worked a job? Don't be smart, my mom snapped. I'm your mother. You wouldn't have anything without me. I have everything despite you, I said. The words came out before I could stop them. You want to talk about sacrifice? I raised myself. I filled out my own college forms. I worked 3 jobs while you gave Marcus money to gamble away. I built this while you told everyone I'd never amount to anything. That's not fair. You skipped my award ceremony to take him to a basketball game. The room went dead quiet. My mom's face flushed. He needed me. I needed you too, I said. But I was strong. I would figure it out. And I did, without you. So don't stand there and tell me I owe you half of something you didn't build. Marcus stepped closer. You're going to fix this. You're going to pay off my debts. Get Mom out of that apartment. Set us up properly. That's what family does. No, I said simply. His face went red. What do you mean, no? I mean no. I'm not giving you millions of dollars to blow on sports bets. I'm not buying Mom a house so she can complain about the neighbors. I'm done. Done? My mom's voice went shrill. You can't be done. We're your family. Then act like it, I said. You've treated me like a backup plan my entire life. Now that I have money, I'm supposed to be your retirement fund? No. One of the relatives cleared their throat. Maybe we should all calm down. Stay out of this, Marcus snapped. Then back to me. You're really going to let your own mother struggle when you're sitting on millions? She's not struggling, I said. I've been sending her $1,500 a month for 3 years. That ends now. The room erupted. My mom started crying. Marcus started yelling about betrayal and greed. The relatives shifted uncomfortably, not sure whether to leave or stay. I closed my laptop, slid it into my bag, picked up my coat. Where do you think you're going? My mom demanded. Home, I said. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back. I paused. I've been alone my whole life, I said quietly. This is just the first time you noticed. Then I left. By the time I reached my car, my phone was exploding. Text from my mom, from Marcus, from the family group chat I didn't even know existed. By the time I got home, my mom had posted on Facebook a long post about her millionaire daughter who chose money over family. Marcus commented about his cold sister who refused to help with his mental health struggles. I put my phone down, opened my laptop, and instead of checking my portfolio, I emailed my lawyer. The next morning he called, walked me through words like defamation and harassment, told me very calmly that I was allowed to protect myself, even from family. Within a week, he drafted a cease and desist letter, addressed to both of them, laying out exactly what they needed to stop doing, calling me out by name online, spreading lies, threatening my reputation. My mom called in a rage when she got it. Lawyers are for enemies, she screamed, not family. Then stop acting like my enemy, I said. Marcus tried to act tough, posted about how no judge would side with a greedy millionaire over her suffering family. But within days, his posts quietly disappeared. Without my monthly checks, reality hit hard. Marcus's betting accounts got shut down. The people he owed money to weren't patient. They called. They showed up. They demanded. A cousin messaged me months later, said Marcus finally got pushed into a treatment program after a police incident. He was angry at everyone, but for the first time, he was facing his gambling as an addiction. My mom did what she always did, tried to handle it alone, asked neighbors for loans, maxed out new cards, but you can only squeeze so much from people who have nothing left. The story she'd told on Facebook started to backfire. Some people felt bad for her, but others started asking questions. If I was so awful, how had she struggled while buying new things and covering Marcus's debts? When she finally sold her apartment to pay off debts and moved somewhere smaller, I heard about it secondhand. It hurt to see it, but I also knew that situation had been burning for years. Me not throwing more money on the fire didn't cause it to collapse. It just meant I wasn't standing inside when it did. Meanwhile, my life got quieter, clearer. I set my own comfortable budget, hired help so I wasn't doing everything alone. Finally remembered what rest felt like. I also made a decision they would have mocked. I committed a portion of my wealth to a program teaching financial literacy to young women who feel like they have to be the strong one, the kind who fills out her own forms, who hears, "You'll be fine," as an excuse, not a compliment. Some nights, when the city is quiet, I think about that Thanksgiving. For a long time, I was angry that my biggest success got twisted into the ugliest fight of my life. Now I see it as the moment the mask came off. 18 million didn't change my family. It exposed what was already there. The biggest lesson wasn't about money. It was about boundaries. You can love people and still say no. You can acknowledge someone's pain without letting them use it as a weapon. Blood is not a contract to your time, your energy, or your bank account. If you're the responsible one, the independent one, the person everyone assumes will fix everything, you are allowed to stop. You are allowed to protect yourself. You're not a bad daughter, son, or sibling for refusing to be drained dry. And if your success made your family see you as a wallet instead of a person, you did nothing wrong. The only thing you owe yourself is the life you built.